Hello everyone, this is Marshall Official. This is going to be a very quick and speedy update for the map of the election of 2024. I'm going to get this out to you guys as fast as possible, and then tomorrow I plan at least, to make a very big, major update, an in-depth analysis of everything, and I'll also be including this, Atlas's new national poll, and it includes everything, that all the information that we need to know. And also this is the new one. It's from this month. You can see it up here. It is a bit old. I should have got to this a little bit earlier, but it's still very current. This information is still very much so relevant. So we're going over that in my next video. But for now, we're going to be doing just the polling averages from every state. That's it. Just polling average for this video. My next video will be a big update, and I'm planning the day before election, like on the night before election day, is when I will have a all-out major update. We will include everything: the newest polls, the polling average, polling market, Atlas, everything. Well, it would be a major update for everything. So let's just quickly now fill in all the states we know will be solid or likely, and we'll get to the battleground states. All right, everyone, here we go. We've now filled in all of these states that we can just write off for one side or the other. Colorado and Mexico are probably the only two states on here that are going to be a little bit closer, but they will definitely be going to Kamala Harris. I still left a few extra states as toss-ups, like Iowa, Ohio, Florida, and Texas. Normally I would just fill these in right away, but I figure why not? We'll just quickly go over them as well. We'll see what the polls say about those states. And up here, same with New Hampshire. I will also be going into that one as well. So I left all the battlegrounds plus a few extras as well that we will be looking over. But let's firstly start off with this, and this is the national polling average. And we can see here, this is enormous news, really. Donald Trump is retaking the lead in the national polling average. We can see Harris led all the way from August 5th all the way up until October 25th, where then Donald Trump took the lead, and then he actually gained ground to now 0.2%. It's a very small margin, but the fact that he's leading, this suggests that he's going to win the popular vote. If Donald Trump wins the popular vote, it is over for Kamala Harris. He will have a virtually 100% chance of winning the election. There's just no way Kamala can ever hope to win the election if she does not win the popular vote. So this is abysmal news for Kamala Harris. We should also take a moment to point out that Donald Trump's campaign definitely made a bit of a blunder in their campaign rally at Madison Square Garden, where there was numerous people who came up to the stage in the podium, and they made multiple statements that were racist, misogynistic, and all those. It was mostly just vulgar statements. The big ones were where they called Kamala Harris the Antichrist. Another one was when they called Puerto Rico a pile of garbage. Basically, it was an island of garbage. There was others among those, but those were the worst ones. So the takeaway from this is: will this affect the election in any way? Like, will this, what we saw happen here, really, is it going to affect the election? Probably not, just because at this point we're too close. And also, it should be pointed out that this took place in New York, which is good news for Donald Trump, because at the very least, it did not happen in one of the key battleground states. That could have been bad if it happened in one of the very close battleground states like Wisconsin or Michigan. But at least it happened in New York, which is a state he's going to lose anyways. Nevertheless, it is still big news, and this is not a good time for Donald Trump to be having bad news like this going around about him. The important thing, or at least the good news for Donald Trump, is that the words did not come from his mouth, at least. So they can't at least write those people off who said that as being, well, we didn't know they were going to say that, so it's not, we didn't mean for that to happen. Johnson can say that, and the Donald Trump campaign has come out and apologized, or not apologized, but really they said that the words spoken by these people are not a reflection on what Donald Trump's views are and what the Trump campaign thinks, really. So they have basically come out and wrote those statements off as being like, hey, that's not what we meant. We did not mean for them to say that. That's not what we think, basically. You can read all of it here. But that is essentially what happened. And it is bad news for Donald Trump, but again, Kamala Harris has said similar dumb things. Like a week ago, she said to a religious man in her crowd that to leave her rally. She told a guy who was religious to leave her rally and go to Donald Trump's rally. So, and that was from her mouth. So, things like this will happen. So this is definitely going to be a small little blow to Donald Trump, but will it really affect anything? Is it going to change anything? Most likely, it probably will not change anything, especially because it wasn't Donald Trump who said it, and the Trump campaign has already come out and said that that's not a reflection on our campaign. It is still going around pretty heavily though, so it's definitely it might hurt him just a little itty bitty little bit, but overall because it wasn't his mouth, they didn't necessarily apologize. They explained it away, and the fact that this happened in New York, a state that Donald Trump wasn't going to win anyways, does definitely help limit the amount of damage that this little scandal will cause. Nevertheless, this is not the type of news that Donald Trump needs right now, especially because he's way ahead right now, and the last thing he needs is for something to happen to cause him to lose his big advantage. But at this point, we're so close to the election that it probably won't. It just simply will not change anything. But I thought it was worth mentioning. So with that, let's now get into our first battleground state, and that's Nevada. All right, we can see here in Nevada, it's extremely close, but Donald Trump does hold the lead of almost a full percentage point ahead in the RCP average. Bloomberg, of course, as we know, can just be written off. They're just simply not. They're just simply full of crap because Bloomberg just. They are just so insanely liberal that they just cannot be trusted in the slightest. Getting rid of that poll, we can see that Donald Trump leads in the newest poll. There are two ties, another Trump leading, and then these two down here, which has Harris leading. But the Wall Street Journal has Trump leading by a full 6%. So we will be giving the state to Donald Trump by a tilt margin. Now let's go to Arizona. In Arizona, we can see here that Donald Trump has a very clear, strong advantage in this state. He leads in the RCP average by 1.5%, and all the most recent polls have Donald Trump winning by a fairly good margin. This one has, according to the New York Times, which is a left-leaning poll, it's a very left-leaning poll, I would say, has Trump leading by a full 5%, which is absolutely insane. The Wall Street Journal does have Harris winning by 2%, but at this point, this poll is basically outdated. So there's no denying that Trump will easily take the state of Arizona by a lean margin. It's just not that competitive anymore. So now let's go to Texas. Texas is at this point a write-off for Donald Trump. You can see here he leads in the RCP average by 7%, and according to the New York Times, he leads by a full 10%. So this left-leaning poll has Trump winning the state by a double-digit margin. If we look here in 2016, in the two previous elections, in 2016 he won the state by 9 percentage points, almost a double-digit margin. He did lose some ground in 2020, but bear in mind, Texas. Some people thought Texas was supposed to go to Joe Biden in 2020. His margin decreased in 2020, but overall it didn't really affect much of anything because he still won the state. Some people thought Joe Biden was going to win this state, but that just did not happen, and it's not going to happen this time for certain. Donald Trump is probably going to take the state by a double-digit margin at this point. So the state will no doubt be a likely Republican state. Let's now go to Florida. Here we can see clear as day how much Florida has really just changed from being a battleground state to now being a pretty much almost solid Republican state. Trump leads by 8.4%, so there's just no way. It's not going to talk about it. It's going to be a pretty strong Republican state. He will take it by a likely margin. He might even take it by a double-digit margin at this point. Let's go to Georgia. Georgia is Donald Trump's biggest lead at this point. We can see he leads by a full 2.3%, which is absolutely insane. At this point, Georgia is hardly even a battleground state at this point. Kamala Harris has just really lost all hope of winning this state. And Donald Trump, at this point, he has no fear of losing this state. The state will probably go to Donald Trump very quickly during the election, so we will be giving the state to Donald Trump by a likely margin. By a lean margin. Let's also quickly fill in the second district of Nebraska. It will be lean Democratic for Kamala Harris. She will win the state. Let's also quickly go over Iowa and Ohio while we're at it. We only have a single poll from Iowa, and it's not and it certainly is not a very good one. But nevertheless, it has Trump winning the state by 4%. But bear in mind, this state, you did go to Obama back in 2008. It went to him in 2012. But then Trump took the state by almost a double-digit margin, and he won it by basically the same margin in 2020. So this state is just not going to flip, and it's going to be a whole lot more than 4%. It will be a likely Republican state. Let's check out Ohio now. Ohio, same thing. You can see here, if we go back to here, in 2012, it went to Obama by 3%. But then we see here, Donald Trump won the state by 8.1%, completely flipping it, just like Iowa. In 2020, he won it by basically the exact same margin. So Ohio, and seeing look at the polls, he leads by 7% on average. This state will also be a likely Republican state. Let's quickly fill in North Carolina now. North Carolina, in the RCP average, Donald Trump leads by 0.8%. So this is good news for Donald Trump, although it's not as much as he would like for this state. It is the only state he won in 2020 out of the battleground states. Nevertheless, he is still winning. We see all the recent polls have Donald Trump winning the state, including even Bloomberg. Incredibly, I mean shockingly, Bloomberg has Trump winning the state by 1%. That is incredible news that Bloomberg actually has Trump winning the state by anything. I'm surprised Bloomberg doesn't have Harris winning the state by 48% or something like that. But anyway, so yes, even Bloomberg has Trump winning the state, and so does Merritt and Emerson. These are all left-wing polls, and they all have Trump winning by 2% and 1% respectively. So yes, the state will definitely be going to Donald Trump, and by the RCP average, it will be a tilt Republican state, but he will probably win the state by a lean margin at least. Let's go to Virginia. In Virginia, we have finally received new polling. The last poll we had before was this crazy 11-point poll, which is just ridiculous. That will never happen. But we have new polls. The Washington Post has Harris winning the state by 6%, and Rasmussen Reports has Harris winning by just 2%. Virginia is getting closer, and it could be in Trump's reach. That is a bit of a stretch, but the state definitely could be going to Donald Trump in a very, very tight race. If we'll see what happens. But nevertheless, there's no denying the state is still leaning towards Harris. Trump's chances of winning are there, but they're still pretty slim. The state will be a lean Democratic state. And we consider this the fact that, but we consider the fact that these two polls are likely extremely skewed beyond belief. This 11-point poll and this 8-point poll are just ridiculous. And this margin does go down significantly. So we'll see what happens. It probably will get quite competitive. But nevertheless, Harris still has a good chance of winning this state. So let's now go on to Minnesota. Minnesota, we do have brand new polling here, and yes, Harris only in this newest poll only leads by 3%. So this state is getting closer as well. Donald Trump could have a chance of winning this state, even if it did still lean towards Harris. And remember, Harris's running mate is from this state. So the fact that this state is this close is horrible news for Kamala Harris. But nevertheless, it's still going to go to her. At least it should, by at least a lean margin. But the state is also getting more competitive, and we will see if Donald Trump can maybe pull out a victory in this state and also Virginia. It's going to be close, but the chances are there. But nevertheless, we are still going to realistically give it to Kamala Harris. Let's go to New Hampshire. New Hampshire, we do have brand new polling from this state as well, and incredibly, we can see here in this newest poll, Harris only leads by 3%. That is a far cry from these insane polls 8, 11, 7, 9, and now 3. This state, Donald Trump is again catching up in this state, but by the slimmest margin, because Harris still leads by 6.3%. The state will still be a likely Democratic state by just the slimmest of margins. But if it goes down another 0.3%, it will be a lean Democratic state, and Trump could win the state. Don't forget, in 2016, he almost won that state. It came within. Clinton only won by 0.3%, which is just ridiculous. So yes, the state could absolutely get very competitive. We'll see what happens, but the state for now will still be going to Commonwealth by just barely a likely margin. Now let's go to Wisconsin. Wisconsin, one of the closest states in this entire election. We have a full 1, 2, 3, 4 polls that all have it listed as a tie. These newest polls has Trump winning by 1%, and that includes Emerson, which is a left-leaning poll, has Trump winning the state, and in the average he's ahead by 0.3%, and can factor in this margin from 2020. Look, Biden was to win the state by 6.4%. He only won the state by almost kind of ridiculous 0.6. So he won the state, but only by 1/10 of what he was supposed to, which is horrible odds for Kamala, especially because now Trump is leading. So this state will be a tilt Republican state. And at this point, Trump already wins the election. He does not even need Nevada at this point. If he just gets Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, and Wisconsin, he wins. But we also still have to get through these next two states, Michigan and Pennsylvania. Let's go to Michigan. In Michigan, this state is getting close. Donald Trump at one point had a near full percentage, he did actually have over a 1.2% lead. This is the only state of all the battleground states that Kamala has been able to kind of regain her footing in after Trump's surge began at the beginning of October. But even now, he does still hold a very minor lead in this state of 0.1%. The only reason why Kamala Harris is even catching up in this state is because this Quinnipiac poll, which has Harris winning by 4%, which is definitely way too much, and this Bloomberg poll, which has Harris winning by 3%. And of course, what we know about Bloomberg is we can just completely get rid of this. This poll should also probably be cut in half to probably +2 for Harris, as 4 is just way too high. Consider that, then this number would be higher. Nevertheless, Trump is still winning the state in the RCP average, and we do have several left-leaning polls that have Donald Trump winning as well. We most notably have Atlas, the best pollsters in the entire world, have Trump winning by a full 3%. But in the average, he leads by 0.1, so the state will be also a tilt Republican state. And now we come to our final state, and that is Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, it's the same story. Donald Trump maintains a good lead in this state. It's not that big when you consider it, but look at the polls. You can see a lot of polls here have Donald Trump winning by good margins. Atlas, the best pollsters in the world, have Trump winning by 3%. These left-leaning polls like Emerson have Trump winning by 1%. And of course, Bloomberg doesn't exist as far as we're concerned because they just can't be trusted. So let's look at this. We have a full 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight polls of Trump winning this state. You have to go back to beginning of October with the New York Times that still have Harris winning this state, which is just simply too much. So no, this state will definitely be under Donald Trump as well by at least a tilt margin. It could even be higher. And with that, everyone, this is your election. Based off all the polling averages, Trump would win this election with at least 312 electoral votes, and he has a possibility of winning Minnesota, Virginia, and New Hampshire. All three of these states are actually may be in play for this election as well. Donald Trump, you can see, despite at least as of right now, despite his shortcomings and his scandal that happened in Madison Square Garden, it has not affected anything, at least as of right now. He still is on track to win this election in a modern day electoral landslide. Thank you guys for watching. It's gonna be all for today. We're gonna keep on this election right until the last minute. And I have a mega prediction plan for the day right before election day. So stay tuned for that. That's gonna be all for today, guys. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.